wash our hands often to our elbows. These are the things we know. If people want to wear a mask, that is okay. These are the things we know to prevent you from speaking moistly. Speaking moistly. Keep 2 meters apart. Speaking moistly.
Welcome to Speaking Moistly, everybody. It is myself, Greg Wycliffe, with the one and only Mark Peralivas. How you doing today, Mark?
Doing very well, sir. Spring is in the air. I can't believe it. Easter's around the corner. And
that's right.
Our spring event, right?
That's right. There's lots going on.
That's
lots going on. We're doing a Speaking Moistly live event, April 15th. We're going to be talking about the failing healthcare system here in Canada. Mark and myself will be the moderators, and we have 3 amazing guests. We have Dr. Phillips, we have Sarah C. from Frontline Nurses, and we have Scarlett Martin. We have a doctor, a nurse, and a paramedic. So we're going to be talking about the failure of the Canadian healthcare system at various levels. Tickets are still available. You can go to canadapoli.com/event. That's where you can buy tickets. The event's in Mississauga. You'll get the exact location upon ticket purchase, but it should be very interesting. Should be very funny, very sad. All the ups and downs of talking about Canada, honestly, these days, right?
Yeah. I was able to connect with Dr. Phillips on yesterday, and you and I have to talk about that as well. But I was talking with him yesterday. I'm going to post it soon, and just talking about what was the most surprising thing. Hearing from insiders and whistleblowers is really interesting. What was the most hopeful thing? What was the most terrible thing? And so it's interesting, the stories. So I think it'll be a good night. So hopeful people who want to make it out can make it out. So excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of stories that we're going to be going over that night, and hopefully working towards solutions as well, because it really is abysmal, the state of our institutions in Canada. And we're going to first start about the healthcare system. But today, oh man, it just seems like every week we are talking about more trans crap. I hate to summarize it like that, but it's like every single day. It's just another thing.
This one is more of a failure of the justice system and the policing system in Vancouver. They sent out what seems to be somebody who was ideologically against Billboard Chris, and this person purposely didn't act when Billboard Chris was being assaulted. Because, like, if you and I were in public, let's say you were in a park or something like that, or you're in a lineup or whatever, I couldn't just walk up to you and start screaming in your face. A police officer would come up and be like, "Hey dude, like, what are you doing? Like, why you can't do that to somebody? Like, what are you doing?" But this police officer and a whole group of like 40 police officers, I don't know how many there weren't 40, maybe 15, a lot of police officers were standing around doing nothing while Chris was intruded upon, screamed at by a mob of radical, ideologically captured children. Is that accurate-ish?
No, unfortunately, some of these people look of adult age.
Oh, right.
Like they're not like, sure, they're acting like children. Whoops, that's the wrong one. This is a good kind of summary of what was going on there. On the left, you have the police officer who's like, whatever, rolling her eyes. And on the right, you have this man in a dress yelling at Billboard Chris. You've probably seen the clip by now. It's quite
inflammatory.
It's quite disturbing. It's more disturbing trans stuff every single day. And it's like, I don't want to talk about this, but it's like this stuff keeps happening. This stuff keeps happening, and it's hard to ignore. It's hard not to talk about. And I think you're right. Like, to your example, if somebody were to get in someone else's face and just start screaming, at the very least, the police officer would probably go over and be like, "Hey,
calm yourself down. You seem to be the one exacerbating things here, not the gentleman standing here with the sign."
Yeah.
And you're allowed to have sandwich board signs in Canada. It's not illegal to carry around. We have freedom of expression. People can put up a sign that says, I believe X, Y, Z. And, if you believe in aliens, if you believe that Jesus Christ is returning tomorrow and you stand on a street corner and yell about it, well, it depends on how you're talking about Jesus. If you're talking about Jesus in a way that is is positive and people might say, hey, I'm interested in that, then you will get shut down. But if you are being
get thrown
like
in jail.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you're feeding the poor, you'll get thrown in jail.
You'll get thrown in jail.
Yep. So that's a little weird in our
Christian. If you're shitting on Jesus and making a mockery of him, you'll
Yes.
have the police officers laughing.
Yep. Right. Exactly.
Isn't that funny?
I think the most concerning thing for me out of this whole thing is just how not on the public side the police officers are. It seems like they were perfectly willing to let Chris get hurt.
Yep.
And even when he did get hurt, they blamed him. So they're perfectly willing to allow that to happen, and that's a violation of the like, we pay their salaries. They're supposed to protect us. What the F?
Yeah, and let's just play the clip while we got it here.
But point that out, and you get attacked. That happened to our friend Billboard Chris in Canada. He went to a trans rally in Vancouver on Friday. Here's what happened to him while there.
You suck. You suck. You. You. You're not wanted. You. You're a idiot. You. 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 You.
Here it comes.
You. You.
Hey, get the
So who's the aggressor there?
That's funny. Who's the aggressor there? Yeah.
Well, it's
go ahead.
the normalizing of the behavior of that whole exchange before the man with the long hair got aggressive to Billboard Chris.
The man with the long hair.
Right? Oh yeah, no, I'm done playing the games. I'm not playing anybody's games.
Well, I mean, if you're done playing trans freak, sorry, that would be my
clown.
Whoops. Oh, whoops.
You know, I don't know. Somebody was saying we should call drag queens drag clowns. I think that's good. I like that one. That was a funny one. But up until that point, the police were certainly not there to defuse the situation. They weren't there to serve the public. They weren't there to serve Chris. They weren't there to do anything other than stand idly by until he hopefully got stabbed. Who knows? I mean, like the violence that we're seeing across Canada right now, that was mild. He's lucky. I'm glad that he wasn't hurt seriously. But these police facilitated that assault. They let that happen. And what kind of message does that send to the public? Right? If you don't get on board with this man as a woman, and despite his very aggressive, very male behavior, he's a woman, and if you don't like it, he's going to beat the crap out of you, and the police are just going to stand by and do nothing. At what point do you think people say, no, I'm done. I'm not going to stand here and allow myself to get my, face kicked in for this radical ideology? I
mean, to be fair, I don't know if we can say that, the cops let the assault happen. I think it's more how they reacted after it happened, because, I don't know the protocol of what's supposed to happen when there is sort of like this protest confrontation. I know that they typically like to separate the two groups or what have you.
Reverse the situation.
Yeah, of
getting
course.
in somebody else's face.
I was going
to
get to that. I was going to get to that. But I'm just saying, like, if there is a confrontation of people yelling at each other, there isn't always the cops there to like separate these two groups. They try to do that, but
sometimes
this was a scenario. I'm just thinking logistically, it was in a park in the middle of a field, right? Mm-hmm. That being said, there were a lot of bodies, and they clearly weren't interested in antagonizing the trans group, and I think that's what needs to be pointed out. Is like I forget who mentioned this. It might have been the ferryman who was talking about this, but he essentially said the reason why the cops aren't daring to intimidate or do anything to push back the trans people is because if they do that, then they'll be in Billboard Chris's situation, right?
Then you arrest them.
Where the trans people are yelling at them, but then that's a bad look for the police. And then the police are called transphobic. The police are called transphobic. And then they have a whole nightmare on their hands, a whole PR nightmare in their hands. But dude, this is in Vancouver. Do you know how weird Vancouver is in terms of how pro-trans they are? It is the most pro-trans place in Canada. And to think
So
that it
that-
has nothing to do with that.
I'm not saying it doesn't have
with
anything to do with
the
it.
PR nightmare that the Vancouver police might have to face for daring to like criticize a trans person.
Maybe so, but for me, the
well,
response
how else
was
would you
pretty
explain
easy.
this behavior? You think that they just like trans people? Like part of
that,
it.
that person, the person who responded, the female officer, the grinning female officer there, is an ideologically captured person who thought that Chris deserved it, and so she wasn't going to lift a finger. And I don't know if she was the in charge officer, but she was the first responding officer. And usually, if you are if you're the first person there, you kind of call the shots until.
Is that what she said?
Right? No, that's just kind of.
That's your speculation.
That's usual protocol for a situation like that, right? Unless somebody takes over or is a higher rank or something like that, she's the main indicator of
you said though that you think she think Chris deserved it.
I think that she believed that Chris. She said on camera that Chris was violent, was screaming in people's faces, and assaulted, like was aggressive first. She behaved and articulated that she believed professionally it was a consensual fight. She says that it was a consensual fight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
there's a whole bunch of stuff. So like, it's very interesting that even in Vancouver, even if you have a very in-group, even if you have a very elite group of people, you shouldn't have an elite group of people that can willy-nilly go and assault somebody who's got a sandwich board on in the middle of a field. Like if those people started attacking police when they said, hey, back off, like you're crossing the line now, then they should be dealt with to the full extent of the law. I saw a video yesterday, and I think it was in Canada, but I could be wrong. I think it was in Canada. And the cop was taking this guy away and taking him to like the police car to put him in. And the guy, I guess, was in cuffs, and he started trying to like kick the police officer's knee to break his leg type deal. Like if you were walking side by side and you turned sideways and tried to like kick my knee in to like snap it at the knee, you know what I mean? This guy tried that. And the cop picked him up and like smashed him on the ground. And the reporter said, is that a violation? Is that too much use of force? And he said, I'll write a report about the use of force. The guy got like smashed on the ground to the point where he cut his chin. But in one situation, that's seen as completely fine. And then if people say, I believe that a man who says he's a woman is a woman, now all of a sudden you can't enforce the law. On one situation, a guy's aggressive and he tries to attack somebody and slam on the ground, and a quick report, no problems. In another situation, well, hold on, they're trans people, they're drag queens, drag clowns, whatever it is. You know what I mean? I don't see it. I'm not going to play the game. I think dereliction of duty. I think if the cop isn't doing their job, they should be fired, investigated and fired.
Yeah, but let's just connect this with the shooting from last week. Trans people face rhetoric disinformation after shooting. In this situation, The trans people are the victim, and somebody pointed this out.
Yep.
There was a whole bunch of articles with the same trans people face rhetoric disinformation. Trans people face rhetoric disinformation after shooting. It's very, very creepy. Usually when a shooting happens, especially if it's a white person, it'll be like, oh, white supremacy, oh, this person's evil, blah 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 blah. Yeah. But in this case, it's like, wow, the trans people are the victims once again.
The narrative has shifted. Yep.
Yeah. So it is dangerous and scary times that we're living in, where you're right. I think saying it's an elite group actually is a very accurate sort of description, where they can get away with assaulting someone and the cops just being like, oh yeah, they deserve that. And I heard someone else make a funny joke of like how they said, wow, I can't believe it's going to be trans people who start the Civil War. No way.
It's interesting because I've seen like there's gays against groomers on the Twitter account. And there's a whole bunch of pushback against this. Like we don't ascribe to this kind of violence. We don't ascribe to this kind of push. We don't want in women's bathrooms. Like we just want to be left alone. Please just leave us alone. Don't drag us into this mess. And I see that, and I think that that's interesting. And
it's not enough, though.
No, I know.
It doesn't accomplish
I've
anything.
seen some statistics where Americans are like, hold on a second, like blue states versus red states. Let's just do some quick math. Like, who's got more guns? What do you think's going to happen? And so, like, not to say they've got a point and that I want a civil war to happen. That's not at all. I don't. Any interruption of my chocolate cereal delivery is
Mark is like,
intolerable.
try me, bro.
No, I
me,
don't. I
dude.
don't want that. But I think that there are people out there who are accelerationist and who think that like that would be good in order to fix things. We have to go through the fire. I don't think they're wrong. I think that there's so much momentum behind what's happening, behind BRICS, behind all of the things that are happening. I think it's all going to come to a head. There's too much momentum for it not. But I don't know. You can't really control a train crash, a train derailment. You know what I mean? You can't really be like, all right, it's not going to hit those houses, not going to hit those houses. Everybody's going to be okay, right? Like it's going to be a disaster no matter which way you slice it.
Well, I think there is certainly actually a white pill in all of this. I think there is something that is kind of encouraging,
Some
which
hope.
is, if you look at this, Dan Dix pointed out, before Billboard Chris got assaulted, he had 111,000 followers. He now has 203,000 followers. Shout out to everyone in the trans activist community for giving this man a voice and a large platform. That sure showed him. Now, of course, you know, that's a huge increase. He almost doubled his following. He already had a huge following. And of course, Twitter is not real life. However, it is a good reflection of ideas becoming popular. And I think that, you know, the takeaway is this really makes trans people look crazy.
It does.
You know?
It really, really does.
And
Massively crazy.
And guess what? It's on the heels of a trans shooting. So, you know, it's we're in a time right now that's very interesting where, you know, obviously wokeness has taken off, this whole like inclusion, equity, blah, 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 diversity.
That's being forced down our throats.
Yeah, of course. But there's, you know, RuPaul is on TV, RuPaul's Drag Race, and especially the LGBTQ plus community. They're really having a moment right now.
If you had like real women dressed real nice compared, like competing with RuPaul's Drag Race, it would go nowhere. And the reason it wouldn't be because people don't want to watch that. It's because the global cabal doesn't want people watching it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they've got their finger on the scale massively. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah. Throwing me off here. I'm trying to finish my
Sorry,
point
man.
here, Mark.
RuPaul.
So RuPaul, my point is the gay community, it's not really a community. It's a bunch of disconnected communities. And even then they're not communities, but, they're like having a moment right now in that their lifestyles have been so validated to the point they've been validated to the point where you want to throw up. It's like, wow, you're even validating this, you're even validating that. But the point is they are beyond reproach. They are beyond criticism. And this has been the case for some time now, but now we're seeing shootings, we're seeing assaults, we're seeing more and more insane behavior, and like something's got to give here. You know, like how long are we going to go on where society as a whole is going to be like, yeah, we just can't criticize these people? This
goes to James Lindsay, and somebody posted on my locals yesterday. Mid-level violence is designed to highlight the response. Right. And so like they'll do something like put their finger in front of your face and say, you know, you can't be bothered about this. I'm not touching you. But they're encroaching on you.
Sure.
And there's all sorts of mid-level violence examples like that. Calling you like white fragility or calling you a racist or anything like that. It puts you in a Kafka's trap. So no matter what you do, if you don't say anything, you lose. If you fly off the handle and punch the guy, you lose. Right. Either way, you're supposed to lose. The only way you win is by saying you're trying to provoke me, and in a minute, you're going to learn what the provocation's like, exactly what that entails. And so you get out of the Kafka trap by saying, you are provoking me, right? So I think we need to say to this community, you are provoking us. We understand what you're doing, and stop it, and smack their finger out of the way, right?
I think people need to talk about it, and I think that's something that there's a lot to this. But one thing is, of course, gay people in the gay community, trans people in the trans community. I hate saying the word community. It's like such a lie. Anyway, they should be vocal. You know, criticize your own community, please, because it means a lot more coming from people who are part of the community. Because it's like,
again, just like the doctors. They not that it won't go anywhere, but it's like if you are a doctor and you say, hey, I'm an expert in virology and this is bullshit, they just silence you. You know what I mean? If you say I am a trans person, well, there's the guy who, but the woman who Matt,
but still,
Walsh
like the reason we know about these doctors for speaking out is because they were doctors, and it's like, oh, that's important that they are doctors and they are speaking out and saying something, and it has much more weight when somebody who is part of that group says something and criticizes it. And sure, Gays Against Groomers is fantastic, but it's also just like a faceless Twitter account. Like, it would be great to see like kind of.
But so
more
was
people...
Libs Against TikTok.
Yeah, but that's kind of not the same thing. Libs doesn't have a specific you know, they're not part of a specific group. They're kind of just broadly criticizing liberals in general. But yeah, I mean that's what I would like to see. But along with that, I think the leftists were right about ACAB, man, or ACAF. You know,
ACAB.
like there's the sentiment of like, oh no, not all cops are bad, and it's like, well, you know, they're all participating in the same bullshit, and it's like, no, but I know a cop, and they're great. And it's like, well, they have that uniform on, and they represent everything that's fucking going on right now, and it's pretty gross.
Yeah, and I had the worry when the left was starting to scream defund police. And I thought, I don't want to defund police. Like, police are supposed to be the good guys. You're supposed to call them when you need help. And now I was worried that they were going to invert it and have like the people who are on the side of I don't want to defund police calling for the defunding of police, and they've succeeded in that. That's pretty interesting to me because of the actions of the Vancouver PD and the rest, or inaction, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, we're also coming off the heels of COVID, where it's like, hey, let's find like grannies for sitting on park benches,
set up blockades in roads.
Yeah, let's break down the door of a business owner who didn't decide to follow our brand new rules and you know, destroy their business. It's like
crazy stuff happened, man.
Very crazy stuff happened, and they are the foot soldiers of whoever they're getting their you know, their instructions from.
Klaus,
which is well, you know,
Chi.
On a more local level though, there's some asshole who is like telling the cops what to do. And they're just like, okay, sir, I'm going to do it for my paycheck, sir. And it's like, what happened, bro? What happened to you?
They got told that being compliant was synonymous with being good.
Yeah, but
doing what you're told.
I mean, it is the whole thing of like, you know, evil prevails when good men do nothing, or when good men decide, hey, I'm gonna protect the trans demon. So the indictment of Trump. Let's talk about it before you go.
No, I want to one thing just popped up. You were talking about numbers, and I saw a post with Ferryman the other day. Somebody posted it on my channel, saying like, hey, look at this. Other people are talking about censorship, and Ferryman was saying the engagement, the comments they get, all of the other indicators, other than the number of streamers, like the number of viewers, indicate at least double, if not more, what they actually get. Do you notice censorship on your social media at all, do you think?
I try not to look into that too much.
You don't look at it? Okay.
Because it's like, am I being shadow banned? Maybe,
yes.
Probably. What am I going to do about it? Am I going to like take a bunch of screenshots and whine about it on Twitter?
I'm waiting for the class action.
Yeah, like it's probably happening. Yes. Am I getting screwed over?
Eventually.
Yes, probably. You know what?
Yes,
I'm just going to focus on making banger tweets and making banger content and just kind of living my life. It's just so far out of my control, right?
Yeah. No, I'm on the same
Elon, hey, hold on. Elon, look what I found. Yeah, I don't think anything is going to happen.
No, well, the more concerning for me is not necessarily the Twitter ban or anything like that. It's C11. It's the government having a dashboard to ban people. We've seen all sorts of the Twitter files in the U.S. is not this only happens in the U.S. This is happening if it happens in the U.S., it's happening in your effing country too. And so I look at that and I think of the ban list, like the Twitter algorithm was released and the ban list is on it. And like, you can see what they're banning, negative Ukraine talk, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I look at that and I think to myself, even if you wanted to fight in this fight, you are, like in Monty Python and the knight who has like all his arms and legs cut off. That's us. We don't have any weapon.
Fuck, that's a pretty good
Tis
analogy.
but a flesh wound.
Yeah, it's just a shadow ban. I've just been deplatformed.
I'll bite your ankles
your
off.
arms off. You can't even talk to anyone. No one, literally no one can even hear what
Nobody
you're
can
saying.
hear you. Yes. You could post your lovely little video, but nobody will see it.
They just ripped out my tongue. So
Yes.
yeah, your tongue's out. You can't communicate with anybody. What are you talking
They're
about?
terrified. They're terrified, and they don't know what to do. And the only thing they can do is censor us. You and me and people like us.
I think it's a huge part of the next step of their plan because
they can't unless we're censored.
Where people like us are just ruining it for them,
Yes.
humiliating them, making it terrible.
Laughing at their
said,
stupidity.
that being said, there's a new iteration that's already existing on the internet, which is banned people can still proliferate online, especially with something like TikTok. And I mean TikTok because TikTok is like, it's a very sort of accelerated version of the internet.
Fast.
It understands how the internet works. And I mean that it's very easy to save videos on TikTok and then share them. And people spam videos on TikTok and they proliferate. And that's really what it's all about. It's having that one video file of the banned person. And it's like, even though they're banned, it doesn't matter. Some random account uploaded it, and then it spread to a bunch of people. So I think that as content creators, it is sort of, yes, it's very scary, but it's also like we need to make our content even better and even more concise and even more like, effective and exciting, because it will still get shared. And
our next show is going to be better than the new Super Mario movie.
10 times better.
Guaranteed.
10 bajillion times better.
I got to go. Last hot take. Are you ever going to drink a Bud Light again?
I don't even drink anymore.
I never drank a Bud Light in the first place.
Well, listen, I've met Bud Light drinkers before. I'm not surprised. They really are pandering to their
John
demographic.
Tory?
They're pandering to their demographic with that stuff.
Yep.
Because they like Bud Light drinkers like chicks with dicks is the joke. And if you're a Bud Light drinker,
on the nose, right there.
Just stop denying it. Just stop denying it.
Okay. All right. I gotta go. Where can they find me? cdnPoli.co.
Yeah, cdnPoli.co, and of course, it's .com.
Yeah, it is .com. That's right.
We need to talk about this again. Speaking Moistly Live happening April 15th. Mark and I as moderators, and we are going to be speaking with Dr. Patrick Phillips, Sarah C. from Frontline Nurses, and Scarlett Martin. Tickets are still available. Go to CanadaPoli.com/event, and you can see the details there to click into the event there. It should be very exciting. So make sure you check that out if you're in the Mississauga area, April 15th. We'd love to see you. Love to meet you in person.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll catch you next time.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mark.
That is okay. These are the things we know to prevent you from speaking moistly. Speaking moistly. Keep 2 meters apart. Speaking moistly. Speaking moistly. Keep 2 meters apart. Speaking moistly. I'm not a medical expert. These are the things we know. Keep 2 meters apart. What I have heard from medical experts. These are the things we know.